Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. We got the first gameplay video about Elex 2 just a few hours after I published my last video. Yeah, my timing was amazing with that one. Anyway, we're going to take a deeper look at the gameplay footage we got and analyze everything, so let's get straight to the business. First of all, they weren't joking when they said that Elex 2 is the most beautiful game that Piranha Bytes ever made. The environments look familiar, but a lot different compared to the first game from 2017. The graphical fidelity is a lot better all around, as far as I can tell from this footage. And it makes the artistic style of the game a bit more realistic, at least when it comes to environments. The game also has a stronger post-apocalyptic vibe all around, especially in this area. I thought for sure that these were the deserts of Tavar, however that area is now green for some reason in Elex 2. I guess that will be explained further in the game. Speaking of visuals, the color palette doesn't seem to be so vibrant like in Elex 1. It still looks vibrant in general, but definitely not as much as in Elex 1. I don't think that's bad, it actually fits the more realistic approach to environments, which Elex 2 seems to have. By the way, it goes without saying that all of this is work in progress. Now let's talk about the first footage of the gameplay, or combat to be more precise. We can see Jax fighting some mass rats, just like in the beginning of the first game. And eventually he tries to fight a Stalker, which kinda seems out of place because this creature was really challenging in Elex 1. So it's probably not smart to fight it in the beginning, but there you go. But it's a good example of how different the combat seems in Elex 2 compared to the first game. The most obvious thing that you can probably notice if you played the first game is the overall speed of the combat in this footage and in pretty much every other combat scenario. It looks a bit slower and more methodical. But is that for better or for worse? Well, we obviously don't know until we get to play it. For me, the most important thing when it comes to gameplay and combat in any game is how it actually feels, how it controls, and then how it looks. Speaking of that, it definitely looks like Elex 2 has that Piranha Bytes jank, so that will probably turn some people away from the game like usual. So if you expected that to change, I must disappoint you. Anyway, let's get back to the Stalker Fights. Let me just remind you how this fight looks in the first game. Notice how the regular claw attacks are a lot faster in the first game. It's really obvious actually. This means that you'll probably have a bit more time to react versus melee attacks in Elex 2, which is a welcoming change. It's something that I mentioned a couple of times in my older Elex videos. The twitchy attacks and unconventional movements of animals and beasts in the game was one of the main problems with combat in my opinion. And combined with the bad hitboxes, it's not surprising why a lot of people had issues with the combat system. I loved the first game and I got super invested into it, so I took the time to learn how the combat works and game the system despite all of its flaws. However, as a melee character, the amount of focus you need in those fights if you wanted to play like this was ridiculously high. So the first thing that I would do when it comes to combat in general is slow things down a little bit and give the players more time to react. They haven't just slowed down the combat, the attacks look a bit smoother on the Stalker and especially on Jax. There are obviously a lot of new animations for attacks to better fit the new approach to combat, and they look a lot smoother than before. But more importantly, the combat itself has received some major changes. The melee combat in Elex 2 is not relying on combo attacks like in the first game, at least not to that extent. It seems there is still a way to chain your attacks in a combo, but each individual attack should be more important now. You'll have more control over your attacks basically. And on top of that, you are now able to hold the attack button for a strong attack. So you should be able to time your attacks more precisely in general. Piranha Bytes did something similar in Risen 3, you could hold your attack button for a stronger attack in that game as well. But that game was heavily relying on combo attacks like pretty much every Piranha Bytes game. Elex 2, however, seems to have a lot different philosophy. It sounds good, but like I said before, I can't claim anything for sure until I get to try it out for myself. Oh, by the way, stamina on NPCs actually works now. We can see the Stalker getting knocked down when his stamina is depleted. Human NPCs in this gameplay footage are not doing much, but this is obviously intended just for the showcase. Demos and early gameplay videos are usually a lot easier than the original game. The first Elex had the option to set the AI behavior to passive or aggressive, and they seem to be really passive in this gameplay footage, so I wouldn't worry about that. Although I would like to see a bit more of their attacks. Remember how stats in Elex 1 only served as a requirement for unlocking stronger weapons and abilities? Well, Elex 2 has made some slight changes when it comes to this system. For example, each point that you spend in strength will slightly increase the damage of the melee weapon you're wearing. And I always thought that Elex 1 was supposed to work like this, so I definitely like this change. I have mentioned the air combat in the last video, but we could only speculate about it. Now we actually have some proper footage of the air combat, so let's talk about it for a second. I think that one of the main reasons why they included air combat in the first place is to balance the flying ability of your jetpack. If you didn't know already, Elex 2 allows you to actually fly with your jetpack now after a couple of upgrades. And one of my main concerns when it comes to this was obviously the exploration. If not done properly, flying could absolutely trivialize the exploration and the whole game basically. The exploration is extremely important in Piranha Bytes games because it's hands down one of the best things about these games. So it was logical to include these flying enemies in the game to prevent you from abusing the jetpack. There is just a small segment of the air combat in this video, and the main highlight was definitely the fire rain spell. I think a lot of Gothic fans will like this spell, and it does look really good. However, we couldn't see how flying enemies are attacking Jax in this video, which is a bit concerning, so I'll need to see a lot more air combat in order to give you my opinion on it. That would be it when it comes to the combat for now. Besides that, we have learned that Elex 2 will have 5 different joinable factions. Elex 1 had a really strong replay value because of the 3 joinable factions, so I guess Elex 2 is even better on this field. According to the translated subtitles from the PC Games video, there will be a 6th faction as well, which will be a quote-unquote special case, whatever that means. But unfortunately, we still don't know the name of the factions. This gameplay video also answered my own question about children from the previous video I did. You won't be able to attack children in this game, so that settles it. Yeah, it's not a huge deal, but it could hurt the immersion a little bit. There are quests related to children, and Jax also has a kid called, wait for it, Dex. Yeah, okay. I wonder with who, by the way, probably with Kaya. And that would be everything I wanted to cover in this video. I guess Piranha Bytes wasn't joking when they said they will start releasing a lot of info about the game in the upcoming weeks. And I promised I will try my best to cover every major update until the game actually comes out. Of course, I will cover it when it comes out as well, it goes without saying. Anyway guys, make sure to press the thumbs up button if you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more RPG contents. If you want to support the channel in the long run, consider becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member. You can get your name on the end credits, as well as some other perks like early access to videos, Discord roles, my plans for future content, etc, etc. That will be all, and I'll see you in the next one.